child, I never imagined that one day a man would walk on the moon. Yet this year we marked the 50th anniversary of the famous Apollo 11 mission.
Still looking very good. Here, go. The Eagle has landed.
As those historic pictures were beamed back to Earth, millions of us sat transfixed to our television screens as we watched Neil Armstrong taking a small step for man and a giant leap for mankind, and indeed for womankind. It's a reminder for us all that giant leaps often start with small steps. This year we marked another important anniversary, D-Day. On the 6th of June 1944, some 156,000 British, Canadian and American forces landed in northern France. It was the largest ever seaborne invasion and was delayed due to bad weather. I well remember the look of concern on my father's face. He knew the secret D-Day plans, but could of course share that burden with no one. For the 75th anniversary of that decisive battle, in a true spirit of reconciliation, those who had formerly been sworn enemies came together in friendly commemorations either side of the channel, putting past differences behind them. Such reconciliation seldom happens overnight. It takes patience and time to rebuild trust, and progress often comes through small steps. Since the end of
I find the whole hate hoax phenomenon happening in this country bewildering.
Well, exactly. In 2019, there were so many, it was hard to keep track.
So we rounded up some of the greatest hoaxes for you. Watch.
But I am facing the man that degraded me and paraded me, and I'm not lying. No, I'm not.
He says, "You lazy son of a bitch. You need to go back where you came from." Because people are getting really out of control with this. With this white privilege stuff. I'm at the grocery store and I'm in the 10 aisle, the aisle that says 10 items or less. Yes, I have 15 items. He says, "You lazy son of a bitch. You need to go back where you came from."
Can you tell us on camera what happened?
I walked into Publix, bought my 3 items. There were 3 checkout lanes, one was an express. The other 2 were empty. I kept my tongue shut. I walked and paid for my items in one of the empty lanes. This looked...
Por medio de este trabajo que nosotros hacemos los chamanes de diferentes regiones, le mandamos el mensaje por Yacumama, que es el Jatuncocha, que es el mar, para que ellos tengan calma, no tengan una ira, no tengan el conflicto y la guerra.
I noticed had about 20 items on the conveyor.
An update to a story we told you about last week. A 12-year-old girl in Northern Virginia admitted she lied about 3 white classmates cutting off her dreadlocks. The girl accused the 6th grade boys at a private Christian school of calling her hair ugly and nappy, holding her down and cutting it with scissors during recess. She acknowledged the allegations were false after a police investigation. The girl's family issued a statement reading, quote, "To those young boys and their parents, we sincerely apologize for the pain and anxiety these allegations have caused. We understand there will be consequences and we're prepared to take the responsibility for them." The head of the school said, "While we are relieved to hear the truth and bring the events of the past few days to a close, we also feel tremendous pain for the victims and the hurt on both sides of this conflict."
It's been about 3 years since a fire at Hopewell Baptist Church in Greenville. Thursday, Andrew McClinton, a member of the church, pleaded guilty to starting that fire.
I'm very grateful that no one got hurt in the fire. That's
the Second World War, many charities groups and organizations have worked to promote peace and unity around the world, bringing together those who have been on opposing sides. By being willing to put past differences behind us and move forward together, we honor the freedom and democracy once won for us at so great a cost. The challenges many people face today may be different to those once faced by my generation, but I have been struck by how new generations have brought a similar sense of purpose to issues such as protecting our environment and our climate. My family and I are also inspired by the men and women of our emergency services and armed forces. And at Christmas, we remember all those on duty at home and abroad, who are helping those in need and keeping us and our families safe and secure. 200 years on from the birth of my great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria, Prince Philip and I have been delighted to welcome our 8th great-grandchild into our family. Of course, at the heart of the Christmas story lies the birth of a child, a seemingly small and insignificant step overlooked by many in Bethlehem. But in time, through his teaching and by his example, Jesus Christ would show the world how small steps, taken in faith and in hope, can overcome long-held differences and deep-seated divisions to bring harmony and understanding. Many of us already try to follow in his footsteps. The path, of course, is not always smooth, and may at times this year have felt quite bumpy, but small steps can make a world of difference. As Christmas dawned, church congregations around the world joined in singing "It Came Upon the Midnight Clear." Like many timeless carols, it speaks not just of the coming of Jesus Christ,
It has been quite the year in politics. Here are the top 9 political stories of 2019. It didn't get as many headlines as other big political stories, but make no mistake about it.
Conservative judges.
The president's success in getting his judges on the bench will have implications for years to come. Thanks to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, who is focused like a laser on this, the Senate confirmed a record 50 circuit court judges. McConnell took to Twitter, posting, "That is already the most in any president's whole first term since 1980.
Constitution of the United States.
President Trump announced his re-election campaign the day he was inaugurated, a historically early start that his team took advantage of, raising more than $165 million, nearly $100 million in this year alone.
It's much more efficient 2 years out to try to find a possible voter, a possible donor. It's just a considerable advantage that the other side won't have because you just can't replace time.
Control of those big coffers, not only his re-election campaign, but the Republican parties, contributed to the president's firm grip on the GOP, which in various ways became even more clearly the party of Donald Trump in 2019.
Take back our democracy.
The Democrats' 2020 presidential field took shape early in the year as the most diverse ever. More women and candidates of color running for a single party than ever before. The first openly gay candidate, a major contender.
The top 12 Democratic presidential candidates are at their positions.
It was also the biggest. CNN's October debate was the most crowded stage in the history of presidential primaries.
I want to give a reality check here to Elizabeth because no one on this stage wants to protect billionaires. Not even the billionaire wants to protect billionaires. We just have different approaches. Your idea is not the only idea.
I think as Democrats, we are going to succeed when we dream big and fight hard, not when we dream small and quit before we get started.
That shrunk to 7 in December, thanks to the party's increasing fundraising and polling thresholds. No question defined the Democratic primary fight this year more than this. Do voters want an ideological revolution or a candidate focused on relief from Donald Trump? At the top of the field, Senators Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are the revolutionaries, promising sweeping change, while former Vice President Joe Biden, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, and Senator Amy Klobuchar say incremental change is more realistic. Nowhere was this more on display than health care.
Build on Obamacare, add a public option. 71% of Democrats support Medicare for all.
Stay tuned for the answer in 2020. 2019. With a historic new class of House Democrats. A record number of women sworn in and many more firsts. The first Muslim American women, the first Native American women, and the first female House Speaker in history reclaimed the gavel.
I'm particularly proud to be the woman Speaker of the House of this Congress, which marks the 100th year of women having the right to vote.
Speaking of Nancy Pelosi, going head-to-head with President Trump is one of the 2019 storylines. Starting with the longest government shutdown in U.S. history.
Federal workers will not be receiving their paychecks. The president seems to be insensitive to that. He thinks maybe they could just ask their father for more money, but they can't.
The State of the Union speech has been canceled by Nancy Pelosi because she doesn't want to hear the truth.
In October, a clash over the president deciding to pull troops out of Syria ended in a Pelosi walkout. The president tweeted a photo of Pelosi having what he called an unhinged meltdown. She owned the image, making it her social media cover photo.
Article 1 is adopted.
The year ended with the Speaker reluctantly leading the House and making Trump only the third president in history to be impeached.
I pray for the president all the time.
After nearly 2 years, Robert Mueller concluded his Russia investigation with a 448-page report. On the key question of collusion, Mueller's probe did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in the election interference activities. It noted 10 instances where the president may have obstructed justice, writing, while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. Much to the outrage of Democrats, Attorney General William Barr tried to play it as exoneration.
The evidence developed by the special counsel is not sufficient to establish that the president committed an obstruction of justice offense.
Democrats were hoping Mueller would clear it up, but his nearly 7-hour testimony, slow-moving and drama-free, did not. Then, a whistleblower complaint that Trump urged the Ukrainian president to investigate Joe Biden and his son Hunter in exchange for nearly $400 million in U.S. military aid.
That goal was perfect.
Moderate, vulnerable House Democrats who had resisted impeachment before changed their minds and called for an inquiry. An equally reluctant House Speaker announced the House would do just that.
The actions taken to date by the president have seriously violated the Constitution.
A day later, the White House released a rough transcript of that July conversation. In it was what Democrats would focus their impeachment inquiry on, an apparent quid pro quo. The impeachment inquiry would make its way through the House Intelligence Committee with closed-door witness testimonies, followed by several days of notable public testimony.
Was there a quid pro quo?
As I testified previously, with regard to the requested White House call and the White House meeting, the answer is yes.
Former Trump Russia advisor Fiona Hill called out some of the president's team for carrying out a, quote, domestic political errand and sent a warning.
Russia's security services and their proxies have geared up to repeat their interference in the 2020 election. We are running out of time to stop them.
Republicans attacked the process, generally sidestepping the facts.
You can't make your case against the president because nothing happened.
Democrats drafted 2 articles of impeachment, abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, which passed the committee and later the full House on party-line votes. The year ending with Donald J. Trump, the 3rd president in history to be impeached. So how does it all end? You're going to have to wait till 2020. Dana Bash, CNN, Washington.
Into a divided world many years ago, but also of the relevance, even today, of the angel's message of peace and goodwill. It's a timely reminder of what positive things can be achieved when people set aside past differences and come together in the spirit of friendship and reconciliation. And as we all look forward to the start of a new decade, it's worth remembering that it is often the small steps, not the giant leaps, that bring about the most lasting change. And so I wish you all a very happy Christmas.